except for the one we're going to talk right now with the Attorney
Another
General.
hot topic.
Yeah, Tim Griffin is joining us by phone. Hello, AG. How you doing today?
Oh, another day in paradise.
I bet it is. Living the American dream, aren't you?
living the dream, my friend. Just happy to be healthy and alive. Anyway, yeah. So I appreciate you. Sorry for being a couple minutes late. I've been juggling a bunch of phone calls this morning.
That's all right.
Yeah. So criminal justice critically important. Critically important. Look. In a nutshell, we haven't been, you hear a lot of people say, well, we've been locking this many people up or that.
No, we haven't.
No, to the extent we've been locking them up, we've been letting them go.
That's right.
And there's nothing more disrespectful to law enforcement to say, hey, I know y'all risk your lives arresting this person, but we're gonna release them after a couple of years, see if you can catch them again. That's what's going on.
Well,
I mean, people get 12 years, they do 2.
Right.
People do misdemeanors, they get nothing because the county jails have been co-opted by the state as prisons, mini prisons, and they're not prepared to do that. They're not trained. They're not staffed. And so basically, there's no place for misdemeanors violations to go. So you can drag race, graffiti, drunk drive, whatever, misdemeanor, simple assault, whatever. And you never really have to worry about going to jail because the jails are all full of people that ought to be in a state prison.
That's right.
It's a total joke. It's a total joke, and every prisoner knows the state system is a joke, and the federal system is serious and scares them.
All right,
There's no question about it.
So I've talked to a gentleman who used to work with you in your office when you were the lieutenant governor, and that's Gilmore. He's now state senator, and he's been working very judiciously with you about this particular topic, and he was stated in the paper, and he stated it on my show before, early in the session when I had him on, that they wanted to get to where people who commit really violent crimes, they do 100% of their sentences, 85% on the others, but it has to be until 2025 that we can start that because we got to build a new prison and take care of those serious offenders. Yeah,
well, bad decisions have consequences. I mean, if you jump off a cliff and break about 30 bones, you may want to run the next day, but it ain't happening.
Right.
I mean, look, when you go 20 years without doing what you ought to do in terms of expanding capacity, guess what? You don't have any extra capacity.
That's right.
And guess what? That's a problem. And there's no magic wand. There's no magic wand to wave and fix it. So it's just going to take some. It's going to take some time to get that. To get that fixed. And there's no way around that particular problem. And so that does stymie our ability to have an immediate impact. Although some of the most violent, we can come up with some beds pretty quickly. But here's the problem: we say some of the most violent, this and that. That's who's in. I mean, the state prisons are not filled with pot smoking, hot check writing, shoplifting folks. You got to work. Someone put it this way to me, and I'm going to say it now because it's pretty darn accurate. You got to work hard to get into state prison because they're looking for every single reason not to put you there because they're just maxed out. Exhibit A, about twice a year. Over the last so many years, the governor has had to release people or has released people under the Emergency Powers Act because they were just full. And you may think, well, those were petty theft. No, they're petty theft doesn't go to state prison. How are you going to release somebody from state prison for a low-level crime when they never went there in the first place? Well, the answer is you're not.
Right.
But who are we releasing? You don't have to guess who. They put out a list when they do these emergency releases.
Yeah.
And I've got one of the lists from March of 22, I think, on my phone. I got it on my phone. I can't do it while I'm talking to you. But if you look down the list, you know, sexual assault, rape, blah, blah, blah. Those are the people that the state has released.
Right.
Intentionally. So, I mean, look, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Apparently it does to know that if you release violent people into society, you will get more violence.
Yeah, you're going to have problems. That's right.
And you know what? Does it sadden me that we have to lock so many people up? Sure. Does it sadden me that we have so much crime? Sure. Does it sadden me that this world has problems? Sure. But when you get done living in the land of unicorns, glitter, and rainbows, and you're ready to deal with reality, then come talk to me. Because the reality is, the way to stop someone who has a habitual nature, who has a problem of habitually committing violence, is the way to fix that is to incapacitate them. What does that mean? Put them in a place where they cannot harm others. That's what you do. I mean, that's a pretty. If you don't understand that fundamental point, then I can't even have a conversation with you.
I'm with you.
It's pretty, and that's where we are. That's where we are. And the current system is just a nightmare. So, what this bill will allow us to do is keep those people who would harm us locked up, expand capacity, which is critical, and then on the lower end, the lower end of the criminal conduct scale, which is still really, really, really important, where there's more opportunity, people are more likely to be rehabilitated, then there are more expansive options. But in any event, even with the lower end stuff, this legislation changes the default. The default in our current system is if you just breathe, you get out early. And this is changing it to if you just breathe, you stay in your whole sentence. You have got to earn your way out early. Otherwise, you're in the whole time. So it's not really parole. It's not really the federal system got rid of parole. And it basically says, look, you get the full time. You can earn your way down, but you get the full time. The current system is you get 10 years, your parole eligibility date, which may be 2 years, a year and a half, whatever, that's your sentence because that's when you're getting out. If you just breathe. Even if you beat some people up, attack an officer in jail, you'll probably still get out early. We've got instances of that. So it just shifts the whole paradigm. And the current system is just horribly failed.
All right. AG, Tim Griffin with us here on the Dave Elswick Show. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, finish up our conversation with him. I want to talk to him a little bit about criminal justice, and then I want to talk to him about these new lawsuits that are being proposed about TikTok and about Meta. We'll do that as we continue on the Dave Elswick Show. Stand back. We're here on the Dave Elswick Show. We're with the Arkansas Attorney General, Tim Griffin. It's always a pleasure to have him on. Just as a total, transparency. The Attorney General has been a friend of mine for many years. He and I got to be friends when he was counting chads down in Florida. I like to always mention that to people. When he was down in Florida.
Chad.
Yeah, when you were down there.
My good friend's Chad.
Yeah, absolutely.
There'd be so many people named Chad living in Florida.
So I've got Jimmy Cavan here. He wanted to ask you a question. Tim, what is it?
General, we've got, I don't think people realize that our county sheriffs and our deputies are really the front line on fighting the drug trade and the cartels. in the state because they're here. They're in the small counties and small towns. But I would like you to address or talk to the people about how we literally handcuff our sheriffs and those deputies by turning them from law enforcement agency into actual correctional facilities and what it actually costs the people.
Yeah, well, look, anytime you distort anytime that you misuse a tool or something that is made for one purpose and you use it inappropriately for another purpose, there are going to be consequences, right? If you try to use your Chevy Suburban as a backhoe or a bulldozer, you're going to have some problems. Well, county jails are created for a purpose. They are created to house misdemeanors as a result of executing what I call misdemeanor justice, to deal with people before they do things that would land them in state prison. Now, there are some state prisoners who would end up in a county jail as a temporary transfer matter, of course. They're arrested in a county, they're held there. But by and large, you're not talking about the most hardened, violent criminals. You're not, the intention is not to have those people in a county jail. Because the people, first of all, the facilities aren't built they're not built like a prison. The people that work there are not trained to deal with the most hardened, violent felons the way they are in a prison. And in a prison, there are training programs that help deal with a lot of the problems that these long-term felons have. Those are not available in a county jail. And so what happens is when you take a county jail and misuse it for something other than its stated purpose, it takes more personnel to secure it, deputies, right? It risks their lives. We had a violent felon kill an officer over in Perryville, and I went to the funeral. I guess it was last year. There are all sorts of consequences that relate to using a county jail for something other than its stated purpose. And that's what we have going on. And it does take people off of the streets. It does put our officers at a higher risk. It is less effective because the training and the education and the programs that a lot of these felons need are not available in every county, and in most counties they're not. And so, yeah, there are all sorts of consequences, but it's real simple. Use something for its stated purpose. If you do not, if you veer from that, there are consequences, and that's exactly what we're seeing happening here. And as I said the other day at the press conference, we've basically taken the misdemeanor part of the criminal code and we have just thrown it away. Because everybody knows they're not going to be put in county jail.
All right. I want to get to one last topic before I let you go. We're down to about 4 minutes left, Tim, and that is this new lawsuit that you guys just announced on the front page of the newspaper today, going after Meta, going after TikTok. Explain this out to my listeners so they can understand exactly where the governor is on this and what you are doing to follow what the governor wants done.
Well, let me be clear. I wanted this done as well. We've been talking about this since, I don't know the exact day, but I was really interested. I was moving ahead, and at some point it came up, and we realized she had shared the same concerns. And there's no daylight between us on that. But we've got 3 lawsuits. First of all, there's one lawsuit against Meta there's 2 lawsuits against TikTok and ByteDance. The theme of all 3 of these is deception. It's not the content per se. That's not the issue. It's the deception. And so on the first lawsuit, Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, that lawsuit were the first state in the United States to sue on this basis. And what that is about is not about the content. It's about the fact that they use these addictive algorithms, and they have stated publicly, even in front of the United States Congress, that they do not. And we know for a fact that this has an impact on adolescents and children, teens, etc. And we have a Deceptive Trade Practices Act. When you lie about the product and what it will do and what it won't do, then there are consequences to that. That's what the Meta suit's about.
Okay.
The first of the 2 TikTok suits is about deception. So TikTok says that you cannot get to adult content on TikTok unless you're of a certain age, and that they have sufficient way of filtering out younger people from adults in terms of content. Well, I can tell you that is not the case in reality. Anybody can see just about anything. And they want to keep people thinking, or at least represent, that they are protecting children, because then they get a higher rating on the App Store, Apple App Store, for example. So it's part of their business model to project this concern, to communicate this concern about kids. But the reality is that's not true. If you actually sign on and go through the motions, you'll see that's not true. The second lawsuit, that's one lawsuit in deception. The third lawsuit, the second one against TikTok and ByteDance, relates to who can access their data. The data are Kansans data. Mm-hmm. And that is with regard to China. China has access to it ultimately, and we have evidence that China can access it if they want it, and that is, again, inconsistent with what they have been representing.
All right.
So what that means, so there you go. So you've got deception, and we have a number of ways, a number of things in the state that exist in law to hold them accountable. One of them is Arkansas Deceptive Trade Practices Act.
All right. We're going to let you go. I promised you 30 minutes. We've hit it, and you have a great day, and we'll have you on in the very near future again.
You're a legend. The man, the legend.
We'll talk to you later, Tim. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.